The homecoming of retired Air Force One. The Coast companies were heavily involved recently, in conjunction with the Boeing Company and the Ronald W. Reagan Presidential Library and Museum, with the relocation of the retired Air Force One in a project called Operation Homeward Bound. Retired Air Force One, which is sometimes known as SAM 27000, rolled off the assembly line of the Boeing Company in the state of Washington in July of 1972, and in its tenure with the United States Air Force served 7 U.S. presidents and many other dignitaries. As a matter of fact, it is most fitting that she sits within the Ronald W. Reagan Presidential Library and Museum, since President Reagan used this aircraft for 211 missions while serving as our president. Perhaps its greatest legacy is that this was the aircraft that carried President Reagan to Berlin in 1987, where he urged Soviet General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev to destroy the Berlin Wall that separated East and West Germany. SAM 27000 was retired from active duty in 2001, and in those ensuing years an effort was put forth by many factions in and out of government to preserve the airplane, and ultimately a proposal was put forth for it to become part of a permanent display and centerpiece of the planned pavilion at the ever-growing Reagan Library in Simi Valley. So how did this all come together? In January 2003, the Boeing Company contacted Coast Machinery Movers about assisting Boeing with the disassembly of the retired Air Force One aircraft that was being stored in a hangar at San Bernardino International Airport. Boeing was in the beginning phases of disassembling the airplane and preserving it and readying it for transport to the Reagan Library, which was approximately 100 miles away. During the months of January through June of 2003, Coast assisted Boeing with the removal of the tail section, wings, etc. Coast provided expertise and specialized lifting equipment which assisted the Boeing technicians and engineers in the disassembly of the aircraft, piece by piece, bolt by bolt. During this same time, meetings took place between Boeing and the management team of the Reagan Library, and they selected Coast to assist with the move by doing multiple phases and facets, working for Boeing, the Reagan Library, and the Foundation. It was also determined that Coast would be responsible for the actual transport of the aircraft and its components. Moving objects of these sizes requires a tremendous amount of preparation and planning. For example, the fuselage is 145.5 feet in length and just over 14 feet in height. The body of the airplane without the landing gear weighs 50,000 pounds. Each half wing weighs 18,400 pounds without its engine and is 68 3/4 feet long and 34 3/4 feet wide. You better have things in order when you move items this large, and it's important to mention that the plan included transporting them over multiple freeways. In order to ensure there were no problems with the transport of the aircraft and its components, Coast and their teammates worked with the state of California and the California Highway Patrol in developing a route for transport that was approved by multiple parties, including Caltrans. The Coast team test drove the route on multiple occasions with height sticks, which they used to test for exact heights, and they also measured for side clearances at every point of the route. On June 20th, 2003, at 11 p.m., the journey from San Bernardino to the Reagan Library began with our California Highway Patrol escort team of approximately 14 to 16 patrol vehicles and motorcycle officers. The route used was I-10 freeway west to the I-15 north to the 210 freeway west to the Ronald Reagan freeway west. In what was expected to be a trip that would take about 8 hours with a planned 7 a.m. arrival, the wings arrived around 4 a.m. and the main airplane fuselage arrived at 5 a.m. At one point in the process, the fuselage was lowered to within 18 inches of the ground to clear one overpass. This was all planned for in the design of the transport mechanism, which incorporated special dollies and had built-in hydraulics which allowed for the raising and lowering of the fuselage. Not everything went as planned. About halfway to the Reagan Library, believe it or not, there was a flat tire on the transport mechanism supporting the fuselage. But because of solid preparation for a number of contingencies, a commercial roadside repair service was with Coast the entire trip from San Bernardino to the Simi Valley. Coast was able to get the aircraft up the winding road of the library in about 3 hours or so, and then helped secure the airplane and its components on site for storage while the pavilion was being constructed. Later on, in the fall of 2004, Coast worked with Boeing and the library in moving the airplane and its components into the building, and throughout 2004 and 2005 assisted Boeing with the heavy lifting required in the reassembly of the aircraft. Coast also additionally assisted with and were responsible for the pedestal installation and ultimate placement of the aircraft on the pedestal. Coast Machinery Movers is proud to have been a part of this historical venture in conjunction with our partners in this project, the Boeing Company and the Ronald W. Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. What a fitting tribute and world-class acknowledgement to the legacy of President Reagan in having this airplane and all it represents be the centerpiece of the new pavilion at the Ronald W. Reagan Presidential Library and Museum.